publicity in the Zionist media, which is good. It's always good to have publicity. As they say, there is no such thing as bad publicity. All publicity is good. It's a good thing that Intifada found a place in the lexicons of various languages. It has become part of the vocabulary of nations, because the Arabic term Intifada can hardly be translated properly. We used to use the word uprising, but I don't think uprising gives exactly the same meaning. Probably revolution is the closest thing to Intifada. I would prefer revolution if I had to, but since Intifada is now well understood everywhere and we use the word Intifada. But Intifada means something spontaneous. A spontaneous reaction from within as a result of unbearable pressure. Pressure that in our case, in the case of the Palestinians, kept building. And that's why we've had several intifadas. People talk about the Intifada of 1936, the Intifada of 1947, the Intifada of 1987, and then the Intifada of September 2000. Because for the Palestinians, it's a simple case of injustice, oppression. Oppression and injustice not only by the immediate occupiers, by the Zionists who came from Europe, took our homes and occupied our lands and dispossessed us, but injustice on the part of the entire world community. The term usually refers to the imperialist nations, the world community led by the United States of America. And the members of this world community are the former colonizers or colonial powers of Europe. They together agreed to inflict that injustice on us. Not because we did anything wrong to them in the past. We've always been actually their victim. Actually, if you read the history of the peoples of the Middle East and North Africa, the peoples of what is today sometimes referred to as the Muslim lands, we are a people that have always been incapable of hatred. Hatred came to us from outside. It was when we started being invaded by aliens, by foreigners, by imperialist powers, hungry for resources, hungry for influence and control, that we started seeing hatred practiced against us. And then some of that hatred crept into our own soil. Look at Iraq today, for instance. So much hatred in Iraq that Iraq never saw before Iraq was invaded. Never before the invasion of Iraq was there a killing of the Christians as we see nowadays. Why are the Christians being massacred nowadays in Iraq? One of the most ancient Christian communities in the world. The Jews of Iraq. Why were the Jews of Iraq expelled and sent to Palestine? The most ancient Jewish community in the world. The most among all Jewish communities that can claim to trace their ancestry to the original Israeli tribes. What happened to them? Scattered in the earth? Some of them had to go to Palestine because the Zionists needed a population for their nascent state. The state they built on our relics, in our homes, in my mother's house, in my father's land. Why there is so much tension in Egypt? Why there is so much tension everywhere in the region? Every single case I can trace with evidence to British colonialism, to French colonialism, to all sorts of European colonialism until the advent of the worst form of colonialism by the United States of America. Intervention in people's lives, disruption of their cultures, the hunger to impose on them modes of life that are alien to them, not out of love, but actually out of disguise, out of looking down upon them. This is the language that the very early colonial invaders used, bringing civilization to the uncivilized. And if you trace what has happened to us, the Palestinians, you will see that we had a great civilization. And the most uncivilized invaders, the Zionists, came with barbarism. A barbarism that was in itself a reaction to what Europe did to the Jews. Not in my land, not in Palestine, not in the Muslim lands, but in Europe itself. The Europeans hated the Jews. The Europeans had a Jewish problem. The Europeans wanted to get rid of that problem at our own expense. Intifada means that you take action out of the realization that death is more honorable than life. And I know that some people don't recognize the word honorable anymore. It's been removed from their vocabulary. I say no problem, I'll give you another word. For us Palestinians, at times, death seemed more comfortable than life. More comfortable than life. And that's why people become part of an intifada, of this human reaction to an immense injustice. And if your enemy is armed to the teeth, and if your enemy is using all sorts of means and measures to dehumanize you, are you to be blamed for using whatever comes to hand, from the stone to the rocket, if you have access to the rocket, that is? The people that are wronged, the people that are dehumanized for many years, we're not talking here about a few years, we're talking here about a continuous agony that is nearly 100 years old now. Nearly 100 years old. Very soon we will be celebrating the centenary of Sykes-Picot and the Balfour Declaration. Very soon, in a few years' time. And our fight started even earlier. Started here in Europe in the immediate aftermath of the Russian pogroms against the Jews. That the Zionists started thinking about solving their own problem somewhere else in the world. And although the pioneers of Zionism, none of them was religious or believed in God or even recognized the Torah or Moses, they used biblical terminology in order to restore legitimacy on a project that was nothing but colonial and imperialist. So you see, the people who today complained that yesterday that the Venezuelan embassy was giving platform to a function like this, to a discussion like this, they are worried that more people will know the truth about what happened. And actually, in my case, I usually challenge them. I say to them, come, let's have a debate. I'm not afraid of having a debate with anyone, even the staunchest Zionist on the face of the earth. Come, let's sit together and go through the history of the past century. And let's see what happened. Who did what to who? Who massacred who? Who dispossessed who? I know the story very well because it's the story of my mother and my father. And I taught it to my children, and I'm teaching it to my grandchildren. And we will continue to learn it and teach it until our country is back. We tell them, come, you want peace? We want peace too. They say, you don't want peace. You want to kill us. We don't want to kill anybody. We never started the killing. We never started this process. We want peace too. But our peace is based on justice. Your peace is based on capitulation. We had the first Intifada in 1987 because since 1967 the people of the West Bank and Gaza saw more of their land being lost to settlements. Of course, settlements afterwards even grow bigger and at a faster pace. They saw their children, their sons and daughters who went to Israeli factories being humiliated and dehumanized every day. Life was becoming unbearable. So the first Intifada happened. And the first Intifada started with the very basic means of civil disobedience.